Coming up today on Locked On at Texas Tech, the biggest obstacle or obstacles to a Brendan Sorsby Texas Tech connection.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Now the number one sports podcast network in the world. Thanks for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and right now new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet wins, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the FanDuel app today with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again. On today's episode, we've got an All-American salute coming up in just a moment, including some time spent on what may be the most under-discussed Red Raider football story of the year. I got a question for you. We will also get to what we were having some fun with, well, most recently, and that was some transfer portal QB target talk, as in the number one man on the board, Brendan Sorsby. We see reports about the intention to get into the portal. We see an announcement from him. We're getting into what we knew we'd be getting into in the form of Texas Tech transfer volleyball news trackers, among other things, Airbnb YouTube accounts, and the like. You know, common occurrences for the college sports fan this time of year. Been a lot of fun to dream about some things and some possibilities whenever it comes down to the, I guess now, former or soon-to-be Cincinnati QB, possibly soon-to-be Red Raider QB. Want to get to some things, though, on the other side of that sort of come to mind, and I will begin the conversation with some sound from his now former head coach, and I suppose the ex, Scott Satterfield, as it relates to potential obstacles for Texas Tech, because there are other opportunities. You've touched on some of those. We'll consider some others as well. First, let's take a listen to Cincinnati head coach Scott Satterfield.
Ongoing talks with him, and over the last couple of weeks since our season's over, just talking over with his family and trying to decide on what is best for his future, obviously, as all the guys throughout the country are doing that now. And he just, in his mind, he still doesn't know what he wanted to do yet, whether he pursue the NFL, which he's gotten a lot of great feedback. Still waiting for the feedback straight on paper that they send you from the NFL. Still waiting for that. But he's gotten a lot of good feedback through his agent on that. And then also, as we all know, he's had a really good year, and he's gotten reached out to by a lot of schools. And that's the nature of the college football world that we're living in right now. And, appreciate everything he's done for us in this program. Had an outstanding year. I think 1 touchdown shy of the school record for touchdowns responsible for. Obviously played at a high level this year. Otherwise, he would not be sought after like he is through the NFL and other colleges. So, and I think this is the case for all college football players nowadays. It's changed so much just in the last 3 years. And people could say 5 years, 10 years, but in the last 2 years, it's even changed a lot. I think, us coaches and us programs, we have to be grateful for the time that we do have with any players that are on our team, and which we are. And then, at the end of the season, I feel like where we are right now, the adults in the room have created all these rules. These kids are looking at their situation individually and trying to figure out what's the best for me. And that's the world that we're living in right now. And so we have to do, as coaches, do the best we can to maneuver this and go through it. So, but again, I appreciate everything that Brendan has done for us in this program over the last 2 years.
Could you have afforded him?
Yeah, there's programs out there that certainly can afford players better than we can. And I think, as you see, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the portal right now. I think, including some guys in our conference. I've seen several guys in our conference that are outstanding football players that have gotten in the portal. As we've seen in the SEC, and, all over. I think when the dust settles and you start seeing where some of these top quarterbacks, if they play in college again this year, you see who's got the money. Because when quarterbacks play really well out there throughout the country, everybody that wants to compete for a national championship that has those kind of funds, you're going to see that's where those guys end up going. So to answer your question, probably not.
Chris, thoughts on I think we both agree, mostly non-sour grapes answer from Scott Satterfield, and we'll talk some potential maybe obstacles to a union here with Sorsby and Texas Tech.
There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. That was 3 minutes of very, I thought, classy response to a difficult situation for a head coach that is likely losing his quarterback for reasons totally out of his control. I don't even know how to attack that first, but let's get into. So we can kind of layer this a little bit. Why is he leaving? I don't think it's like an anti-Cincinnati thing. This has nothing to do with Coach Satterfield or his time at Cincinnati. I think that there's very few quarterbacks out there that would command some heavy interest. He happens to be one of them. I think it's because of what we'll get into in a minute as it relates to the NFL possibility. He's in that conversation. I think that the rules are different. There's schools playing different levels of this game than others are. And it's fascinating to me because Texas Tech has created a lot of anger out there, and it's like oil and this and that. It's funny because it was good for everybody when Texas Tech was kind of the poor one, or where Texas Tech wasn't getting any TV revenue or didn't have enough stamps to mail letters to their prospects, didn't have enough money to pay Mike Leach market value, or didn't want to have to go that route. Coordinators' salaries were some of the worst in the Power Five. And that's just been kind of caught up in the last, say, 2 to 4 years.
I would say half hour or so.
Your stadium was less than. What was not finished, was half completed, or just felt lopsided. I mean, all these different things. You didn't have an indoor. Cincinnati was in the playoffs 3 or 4 years ago, and it is interesting how much it's changed. But I understand the sour grapes, but like right now, Texas Tech is operating differently than Cincinnati is. This is just the harsh reality of it. It's probably fair to say that the Texases and the Ohio States and a bunch of other schools are still operating differently than Texas Tech is. Okay, but there's levels to all this stuff. But he's going to leave Cincinnati. I think it's difficult for people to believe that he would actually want to come back to the state of Texas. Whether he was getting reached out to by various schools, or his agent was putting out feelers, or his representation was putting out feelers, whatever. It's semantics at this point. It doesn't matter. This is the situation that Brendan Sorsby finds himself in. And I think that he's got a very, very soft place to land in a perfect situation in Lubbock, Texas, should he choose to utilize that option. It is fairly close to home. He would have a chance to, and I think that's the other layer to this thing. You see where these guys are going, and you kind of find out who's got the money and all that. That was a direct quote from Scott Satterfield. So the other component is Texas Tech is trying to win another championship. If you were just existing, if you were just in a position to like, hey man, let's just kind of cross our fingers and let's see how far Mitch Griffis can take us, or the Mitch Griffis and Chubb combination with maybe some Stephen Cannon, or let's maybe go find a guy out there that played at a certain level that maybe we can get in here and see him, let him compete and all that. That sounds good. And that's maybe how you would have operated under these rules if you weren't well funded, but you are trying to win a championship. You have all of a sudden fast forwarded past some of these difficult steps, and now you're going to try to maintain the most difficult step, which is consistency at this level. And this is the hardest. But to do that, you got a curveball thrown your way when Will Hammond just took a misstep and kind of made that one cut, and he tore his ACL. So you find yourself in a position where, like, okay, we all of a sudden have a problem that we weren't planning for. What now? And maybe there's a perfect fit here. So I can keep going, but I think that there's just a lot. There's a lot to that. But Texas Tech is playing a different game than Cincinnati is, and it sucks for Cincinnati. I get it. But they also led a charmed life for many, many years while Texas Tech was struggling mightily. I mean, there's a reason that Tommy Tuberville left this job to go there, because all they did was win. I mean, Brian Kelly was there and Luke Fickell, and they were going undefeated, and they were doing all these different things, playing in a league that they were just dominating. And now the rules are a bit different, and they're in a spot where they probably can't afford to keep a player like that. And that's just the harsh reality. But I credit to Scott Satterfield, because I think that he could have handled that much different. And I have a lot of respect for what he said, because I think he just laid it out there as truthful as he could, and was very appreciative for the time that he did get with Brendan Sorsby, because this is a multi-year deal that they've spent some time there with each other, and it's just done nothing but gotten better in his time there under Coach Satterfield.
I don't know where their big chili money is. Is there no big chili money in the area to maybe contribute to the Bearcat cause? Or
you know my feelings on that chili.
Well, I know it's not any of your money, yeah, but there are some others who feel differently, and I think there have to be somebody's making big bucks off of that. So I don't know. Maybe that's not anything they want to throw at Bearcat athletics, but yeah, I would. I'd say Coach Satterfield about an A- on the answer. Pretty good. Usually looking for some butt hurt traits or something like that, and there's some hurt, I'm sure, involved. Give him the A- because he still sort of went like, well, we've created these rules, and now these kids are looking out for what's best for them, as opposed to what's worst or what's mediocre for them. I mean, what are you telling your son when he leaves the household? I know there's a team component and angle to this, but it's no different than real life. So I still kind of just laugh at kind of bemoaning like this era. I mean, it's a choice when it comes to occupation, income, and the life you're making for yourself and probably loved ones around you. So yeah, what's best for you probably should be on your mind. And I would say from a Tech perspective, you're right. I'm glad you bring up the thought that you could have tried to go out there and just Dilfer it. Like, can we find a Dilfer and just keep paddling this boat? Would be great on defense. And I still don't know what's to come. So who knows? We know how a football season can impact a quarterback, particularly in Lubbock, Texas. But I'm glad they're out there trying to make plays and swinging away, because in this cycle's terms, I mean, this is swinging sort of for the fences, I would imagine, as you already alluded to, kind of a short list name among a short list of attractive options, right?
Yeah, which takes us to this next portion of the conversation.
Yeah, could you tell me, are we talking singular obstacle? You mentioned the NFL. Are there multiple potential obstacles that we should bring up? First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and football is in full force, and FanDuel's keeping you stocked with action every game day with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered. Quick, easy, and secure every time. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Yeah, could you tell me, are we talking singular obstacle? You mentioned the NFL. Are there multiple potential obstacles that we should bring up?
Singular.
All right, I'm liking it so far. Continue, please.
Okay, so you hear Coach Satterfield say that, hey, you know, he's in the midst of trying to figure out what is best for him and his family. There's an NFL draft conversation here to have, because this is going to be a very unique year. You know, the NFL draft will be held in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, this coming April. It is usually heavily revolving around quarterbacks and who's going to draft whom and who's going to move up to go get them, how many quarterbacks are going to go in the first round and all that. This is a pretty thin year as it relates to quarterbacks in the NFL draft as it stands right now. I think that he is in that conversation at some level. I have not seen anything that would suggest that he is a first round. And you can be anything from a late first rounder to undrafted in these conversations, because it's all in the eyes of the beholder. But this is a thin year as it relates to quarterback in the draft. And now there's another item that we need to get to here, because most of the thought out there in the NFL circles, and this will change, but all we can go off of is what we have right now. The first quarterback likely taken, and again, this could change, but right now it's Fernando Mendoza of Indiana, the former Cal quarterback that you beat in the Independence Bowl a few years ago. The second quarterback thought to be taken, Dante Moore out of Oregon. And a lot of folks out there that write and do this stuff for a living have these guys 1 and 2. So you could theoretically be taking on one of the top signal callers in the country in the Orange Bowl. So keep an eye on that. But after that, it's Ty Simpson of Alabama that's thought to be like the third guy. He's only played 13 college games, about to play his 14th. And after that, it's Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. It is, because like the thought is that Arch Manning was going to be the top pick in the draft. Well, he's coming back to Texas. It didn't exactly work out. Cade Klubnik of Clemson was thought to be this can't miss guy. He has slid down the draft. You've got, Lenore Sellers is going to go back to South Carolina. So Drew Aller got hurt for Penn State. He looks the part. I don't know where he fits into this thing. So there's just some weirdness as it relates to draft. This is the one thing, though, that could keep him from coming to Texas Tech, in my opinion. If he were to be told, you're bona fide first rounder, we see you as first or second rounder, I don't believe that will be the case. And the reason I believe that is because I think he's already actively recruiting players to Texas Tech. That's what I think. So I believe
volleyball.
That too.
But in addition to, you're talking football possibly.
Oh yeah.
File it away. I'm going to do a Chris Level lean in. File it away.
Yeah, that's right.
Interesting.
Yes. So that's what I think. I think though that if you're Texas Tech, that is still a possibility that he could declare if they get. So you're still kind of operating. I think that he's your number one target now that he's intended to go into the portal. We're watching YouTube accounts and seeing where they're signed in at Airbnbs. We're paying attention to all kinds of things out there, and fascinating world we live in, isn't it? But I think that you will get word, or he will get word pretty soon here on kind of what it looks like from an NFL standpoint. But I also think that Texas Tech or whomever can make it worth his while to postpone the NFL and maybe even try to enhance his NFL situation while guaranteeing him a pretty good year in Lubbock or wherever he were to go. Just like Sellers at South Carolina, and Sam Levitt could be doing the same thing. The Raiola kid, and the other name that could benefit here, and he could actually move up the NFL draft board, is a guy that we've talked about in Jaden Craig. Jaden Craig was thought to be a certain, like the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th kind of quarterback. If enough players opt to stay in college, he could slide up NFL draft boards. But I have a feeling that's kind of your plan there, one or the other. And I think that it all points to Brendan Sorsby. And I think that machination is already kind of underway here. So we'll see.
Well, it crossed my mind when we were discussing this possibility yesterday, and I'm glad you bring this part up today. The thought of a player like this being involved, or possibly even one of the first to be involved in a portal cycle class, has to spur on some activity. Well, there are guys that other guys want to play with, I would have to believe.
So this is just like, okay, quarterback is just different for a variety of reasons. This is weird to bring a guy in. This is going to be a first for Joey to deal with this aspect. I don't think this was his preference, but this is the situation that was dictated to him because of the injury to Will Hammond. Okay, so I don't know if they will look to have to operate this way in the future, but i.e. bring in a starter like, hey, here's the keys to the kingdom.
Right.
Here we go. Right. But it's different for a variety of reasons. The leadership, all the intangibles and all the things, and kind of the face of the program, and you hadn't even been here. Right. Okay. So all that. But I think like a recruiting class typically happens, quarterbacks are typically the first guys off the board. Typically, when you're building a recruiting class, like your typical high school recruiting class. And then because every school has like one spot, they don't take two, typically. They take one. And so quarterbacks commit quicker because, okay, once they start coming off the board, there's only, well, that school doesn't have a spot anymore. They've got their quarterback. So you start to see it kind of snowball. And then inherently you see that quarterback start to be that leader and be that guy that's like, okay, let's all get this together. Hey, fellas that are all committed now, let's go try to help recruit this guy, and let's kind of build some camaraderie, and let's all go visit on the same weekend, all that stuff, right? Well, the same thing is kind of happening as it relates to the portal quarterback positions too. There's only so many out there. There's only so many schools that have big dollars or that need one, and it's kind of musical chairs. And so those are the pieces that usually get fit in quickest. And then you kind of, because that's what we said when we were talking about this initially, you have to have this piece first before you know your the rest of your budget and what complements this, or what else do we need. But you can go fit all these things in, but if you don't have the right guy under center, not that the rest of it doesn't matter, but it's a huge question mark, regardless of how good your defense is, because you don't want to go Dilfer it, to quote the great
world champion Trent Dilfer it. But that's not what we're talking.
Right.
With all due respect, it's that kind of podcast.
You don't want a jag. You don't want just a guy.
And stars are aligning here for this, possibly. So it's a convenient sort of alignment. There's our word again. Synergy. Take a shot. All right. Before we finish here, Chris, I must carve out some time for an All-American salute. First, today's episode brought to you by Omaha Steaks, and the holidays always feel a little easier when you already know the perfect gift, and Omaha Steaks makes it simple to do just that. And whether you're treating yourself this season or sending something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks is going to deliver handcrafted perfection right to their door. And this week is the best time to jump in because their cyber sale is here and the deals are huge. And every time you give Omaha Steaks as a gift, the reaction is going to be the same. Excitement when the box arrives, and even bigger smiles when everything hits the grill. And you can always bank on top shelf quality with incredibly tender steaks, rich flavor, and meals that make hosting or weeknight cooking easier than ever. Honestly, it's the kind of gift that brings people together, and you don't even have to guess anyone's size. So save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks this holiday season. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale. And for an additional $35 off, use our promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code COLLEGE. Terms apply. See site for details. This is Rarefied Air, special company, and also a category that this year I believe includes the most under-discussed Red Raider football storyline as far as individuals go of 2025. You are not surprised, like I was not surprised to find out, Jacob Rodriguez, David Bailey, first-team AP All-Americans, elite of the elite company when you're talking about the history of the program. A.J. Holmes, Lee Hunter, second and third team AP All-Americans, respectively. Therein lies my most under-discussed. A.J. Holmes, you are the man. Did you have him pegged for an AP All-American appearance whenever he is assuming some additional duties with the departure of Skylar Gill-Howard? I must say I did not, but just an incredible picture there. Chris, would love some thoughts from you on AJ. And, of course, AP first-team All-Americans do not come around every day. For David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez, as I mentioned, elite company they're now keeping.
There have been a variety of quote unquote under the radar stories here because there's so many headlines, so many stories, so many in your face playmakers. We have tried to tell the story of Lee Hunter as much as we could. And, obviously Jacob and Bailey and Romelo and Bryce Pollock have been mentioned on this. Cole Wisniewski. And I think Ben Roberts got some shine in the Big 12 title game, rightfully so. But there may not be a bigger under-the-radar story staring us right in the face than what A.J. Holmes has been. I think that Sheil Wood knew exactly what he was doing when he accepted this job and said, come with. He was always thought to be a starter internally. And it was just, we've got 3 starters for 2 spots, but they were all playing equally. And I know that Sheil is frustrating and as sad as it was whenever Skylar went down, Sheil never blinked because it's like, okay, AJ will play a bit more, and then we'll have, your Cofields and Rigsbys and some of these other guys. But I think he knew exactly what he had in AJ. And you talk about it under the radar, like he's just somebody that, and this is now going to become one of the pillars of your defense next year. I mean, you've got the Big 12 title game MVP at linebacker. You've got an All-American D tackle. These are you've got an All-Conference corner. You've got some nice pieces to accent and to build around that I just don't know if enough people realize like what like an AJ Holmes has done. He's got 34 quarterback pressures. I think he's got like 9.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. If you believe into the analytical stuff, he's graded out like crazy all year. I think that was kind of rolling week to week, and I think people were so caught up into the Bailey stuff and the height stuff or the Jacob Rodriguez stuff that he just kind of kept hanging around. But he makes plays. He's consistent. He's a great kid. He's extremely appreciative of being here. He's extremely appreciative of Coach Wood. He's extremely appreciative of full stadiums and all those kinds of things. I don't think he really envisioned all of this when he showed up. And I think that he has been very grateful. And now he kind of becomes one of your most important players on your entire team heading into an offseason for next year once you get to the offseason, because AJ's work is not done yet.
Correct. And he may be on a short list of Big 12 title game MVP candidates if it were not for Ben Roberts, because he had one of the biggest plays of the game with a forced fumble there. But yeah, congratulations to him, Lee Hunter, Jacob Rodriguez, David Bailey, to say the least, man. Incredible and not surprising given the years they had, but still just incredible, and don't want to waste the opportunity to take in Red Raiders appearing on these lists. All right, Chris, appreciate your time as always, man. Enjoyed the conversation. We will be standing by to reconvene at the portal whenever duty calls. So appreciate you as always, and we'll see you then.
Head on a swivel season. Head on a swivel season, people. Pay attention. Guess I'll just leave it at that. And pay attention to when you show up in an Airbnb who's logged into a YouTube account or Netflix or something.
There's always somebody.
It's always somebody.
There's always somebody.
Wild times, man. Wild times. True or not true, doesn't matter. It's just fun. It's just fun. But all right, well, we'll pick this ball up and play with it next time we talk to everybody. Appreciate the time. Thank you for subscribing to what we do. It's free, as we know, and we've appreciated watching the numbers grow and all those kinds of things, man. So appreciate you, Calvin. We'll talk next time. Keep hope alive, people.
The YouTube Airbnb account sounds just as plausible to me as the first time we heard the question, what's this about somebody being locked in a closet? I'm just going to leave it at that. So rule nothing out, and get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thank you to the Everydayers for always riding along, and the Matador Mob. Hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. If you're interested in joining that crew, your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.